and they did not let anything happen to me. And I'm very grateful for them. And so after that, that is over. He leaves me alone. He stopped stalking me. Something within me, again, this new masculine aspect that has come into my being, lots of courage, lots of bravery. And I go home because my mom is still married to my dad. And when I fell, we won a lawsuit with the landlord and they got money. They kept it. They bought a big house in a nice neighborhood, because before we lived in a really bad neighborhood in Chicago. We moved to a nice suburb, and not a suburb, a nicer part of Chicago. And so we had a nice house, and I go home and I tell my mom, this is what's going to happen. You're going to either divorce dad and he leaves tonight, or, as soon as you decide, you let me know. But he leaves immediately, and you get divorced, and I will help you with the bills. I will help you pay the mortgage, because at that time, I was making more money than my dad. And even though I was a kid and I was still in school, I made more money than my dad. And I gave her the PowerPoint presentation, basically an ultimatum, and said, I will help support you and, the family. We can do it together, but he's leaving immediately, never coming back. Or you can leave with him. I keep the house. I stay here with the twins, and you will never see them again, because I'm going to have custody, and you're going to pay me child support. So basically telling her what time it is. This is what's going to happen, lady. And I was terrified, and I don't even know where that strength came from. But I remember standing in the kitchen, and I just ran to my room afterwards and sobbed, because I said, you have 24 hours. Let me know tomorrow, and I will start whatever in motion, whichever way you pick. I don't care what you pick something. And I had already talked about what was going on at home to my coworkers, and an attorney had agreed to give her a discounted price if she agreed to divorce him. So I had one attorney on hold if she agreed to go through with the divorce. I had another attorney on hold if I needed to sue for custody, but she was going to jail. They were both going to jail. And I said, I don't know what they're going to do to you, because you know what's happening and you didn't do shit about it. And I know you know what's happening. So you pick. I don't care. And so she decided, okay, the divorce. We started all that in motion. The Chicago Police Department came in, took my dad, made him leave. And I promised not to say anything about the sexual abuse as long as he left immediately. I'm like, if you make one wave, you're going to prison. So it's up to you. And I don't even know how I got the courage to stand up to my dad, because I was terrified of him. And so he leaves. He doesn't make a fuss, because he's like, oh, crap. Like, she's standing up to me. And I thought, wow, like, this is working. All I have to do is say no. And all I have to do is tell them what I want. And they do it. And I didn't even know that that was a choice. And I'm thinking, like, this is really magical. Now we're gonna be safe, because the person that's abusing us is leaving. That's what I thought. So he leaves, we go through with the divorce. She keeps the house, she gets child support, and I'm helping her. My sister is helping too. She pays the bill. I pay the mortgage. My mom, we're all pitching in.
Now, when you came back, you were what, 18?
Yes.
Okay, so you're 18. He leaves. You're like 19. Your sister's 17.
No, I'm still 18.
You're 18. Your sister's 16. And then the twins, yeah. How old were the twins? Like 10?
8.
8. Okay.
So, yeah. So I'm thinking everything's going to be great now, because my dad's gone. I feel so proud because he's gone. And like, my mom is compliant. She's, she's falling in line. She's listening. Well, she decides to run away again, like she did when I was 9. And how funny, 9 and 18. It's like every 9 years she has to lose her freaking mind. So she abandons us. At 18, she leaves for weeks at a time to be with a boyfriend, some random guy that she started dating that she worked with. And she would do drugs with him. And he was like an old gangbanger. And she wouldn't come home. And the twins would say, "Where's mommy? Where's mommy?" And I would lie to cover up because I didn't want to hurt them. So, "Oh, she's at work. She's at work." And I would take them places. So I was like a baby adult my whole life. And here I am, 18, full school, full work, paying all the bills, and with children that aren't even mine, and having to like carry that on my back. Again, supporting somebody else and thinking I thought I was helping, but it like blew up. And I didn't understand that because I'm like, this was supposed to be a good thing. This was supposed to solve all our problems. But then I got a new problem because she decided to lose her freaking mind and she leaves. So she's gone, she comes back, she's gone, she comes back, but she would sneak back in to get clothes and stuff when I was at school or I was at work because she didn't want to run into me. Well, one day I decided to take the day off to see if she came back, and I caught her and I went off on her. And I'm like, what kind of a mother does this? What's wrong with you? I can tell that you're high. I can tell that, you know, like, don't you care about your daughters? Like going, like basically reading her for filth. And she didn't like that. And then one night I'm asleep and I have this dream where an angel comes to me and tells me, "This is your husband. You love him now." And I wake up. It's some random guy that I go to school with. I don't even know this guy. Like, I know of him. I've seen him around, but I don't know him. So I wake up in love. And I have these feelings for him.
Really? For you. So
Yes.
you get the visit from the angel, and you wake up and you're in love with him.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like back then there was no internet. So I hunted this guy's phone number down. I asked him out on a date. We start dating. He's ex-military. He's divorced. He's just like a couple of years older than me. And I'm thinking like, wow, he's really good. He's really good to me. He treats me really well. He comes to live with me and he starts fixing up the house. So like there's a man in the house and I get pregnant. Unbeknownst to me, he got me pregnant on purpose because he didn't want me to leave him. So he lied and said that he was sterile. I didn't know. And of course, I already had an abortion, so I will never do that again. So I have to keep the baby. And I'm like, and he's like, "Oh, but I love you so much. I just didn't want you to leave." And he leaves 4 days after the baby's born. Well, what the hell did you get me pregnant for then? So here I am with a whole baby and he's gone. And I'm thinking like, what, you know? And I don't know if you've ever heard of Eve Lorgen. She has this book called Alien Love Bite. Well, I think that's what happened to me. I think that I was interfered with in the dream state because they can mess with you in the dream state. And that was implanted in my mind and to set me up to like take me off my path, to sabotage me. And so, I mean, of course they did, because look at everything else that they did. So I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought, oh, it looks like an angel. It's supposed to be good.
Sorry, I mean, and that's why I say, I mean, sovereignty doesn't just apply to us as humans, you know, opposing or on the other side of the government. It's anything and everything that presents itself to you. I don't give a damn what it is.
Right. So now I say I revoke my permission to anything or anyone that does not positively serve me. That's what I say. That's my blanket statement. But like, man, I had to go through the depths of hell to learn that.
Well, keep going. This is great.
I didn't know.
Are you going to run out of time?
No. My kids might be home in a little bit, so you might hear a little bit of noise with my daughter's loud car.
Well, I mean, how many? What is it? The daughter? Is it the child you're talking about now?
No.
So
Oh, there's more, Todd. That's not even the worst.
Man, this is some.
anything.
What do they call it? What do they call it? What do they call it? The quito or the when the women are. Let's the stories, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
this is a great inspirational story.
Yeah,
This
and I'm so open to my kids because my mom never talked to me. I didn't even know what a period was. I had to find out what it was at school, and I thought they were lying to me. I remember being in first grade, and I had a friend who had a big sister who was a teenager, and she was talking about my sister got her period, and I'm like, what's that? And she's telling me you bleed. And I'm like, you're lying. Stop telling me that. That's not true. Because it sounded so horrific to me that this was real. And I'm like, okay. But anyway, so now I am very vocal and open with my children because I want them to hear everything good, bad, ugly from me because that's my job, not the internet, not the world, not the Kardashians, me. So, and I tell them when I make mistakes.
How old are your children? How big?
So the oldest one, the one with that angel guy, she's in her 20s. She's about 24. And then I'll tell you the rest of the story. So the youngest is 15, but that would be getting ahead of myself.
Okay. So you have the two, and then. Okay.
Yeah. No. So I have.
Yeah. Keep going.
So I had with the angel person, the angel dream.
Now he's gone. You're 19, 20, and you've got the two
I'm
twins.
19.
Okay, you've got so the second sister, the two twins, and the baby.
Yes, and my mom came back. So now she's in the house. She's acting normal, sort of. And because now I can tag team her with my baby daddy, and we would tell her like, hey, what's wrong with you, and like have it like an intervention with my sister and like talk some sense. We would tell her like, hey, what's wrong with you, and like have it like an intervention with my sister and like talk some sense into her.
Now this is when you say baby's daddy, you're talking about the guy
the angel.
Left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The angel dream.
But he left after 4 days.
He leaves. He leaves after the baby's born. My mom's still there. It's me and my sisters and the baby. And so, I'm alone, but then he comes back, he leaves, he comes back, he leaves, he comes back again. We get married. I don't know why the hell I agreed to that. On Halloween, no less. That should have been a demonic indicator. So we get married on Halloween and he gets me pregnant again. But this time I'm happy because I'm like, I'm a wife now. I'm a wife and like, it's normal. It's my husband. We already have a baby. Like, what's another baby? Well, I didn't know he was cheating on me. And he was cheating on me with his ex-wife, who was furious that I was pregnant. And he leaves me again. And then he has the audacity to say, she wants you to get an abortion. Oh, does she now? Well, me and this baby do not need you or her. So, F off. And I'm just going to have my baby by myself. And so I'm 19, a 1-year-old and one on the way. And then he comes back. No, he leaves. He moves to Arizona. And that's why I say everything happens for a reason. Nothing is a mistake, no matter how horrific it is. He moves to Arizona because he's from Arizona and his family's from Arizona. And I'm in Chicago and I get a call I'm pregnant and I have my daughter. And I get a call from my best friend from high school and she says, hey, you want to go with me so I don't have to go by myself? And I ask, where are you going? And I'm like, well, can I take the baby with me? And she's like, yeah, you can bring her. And she's like, I'm just going to this guy's house. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Santeria. Santeria is a Cuban religion where they mix black magic and witchcraft.
Yeah, like the chicken feet and white powder stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't know what it was. So I'm thinking, it has like its base in Catholicism. I grew up Catholic. It must be legit because they pray to saints. So how bad could it be? I guess it's real. It's good, quote unquote. So I go with her and then she gets me, she convinces me, you can get your baby daddy back. You can get your husband back. And I'm like, well, what do you got to do? And she says, oh, you just pay this guy this fee, and he does things with like he chants, and he uses like these candles, and like he asks you to bring special things, and then you get your husband back. And I'm like, really? And I'm 19, so stupid. And like now I see it's so like it's so popular to like do spell jars and shit like that. And like these children do not know the doors that they are opening that they cannot close. And you do not know. So to me, I call that Pet Cemetery. Did you ever see the movie Pet Cemetery?
Yeah.
Where your pet dies, but you bury it at the special cemetery and it comes back to life.
Right.
So I pet cemeteried my ex, and he came back, but he wasn't the first version. Not that the first version was any walk in the park, but the second version was a special kind of hell. So he comes back. He comes back on bended knee, saying all the things I want to hear. And at this time, like, it's a nightmare living with my mom. She keeps doing these things because now she hates me because of, I disrespected her. So she hates me, and she doesn't include me in any of the holiday things. So it's just me and my baby by myself. Easter, we're alone. All the holidays alone. She goes with my sisters, and does things, and we're excluded. I'm excluded, and my baby by proxy. And so I'm thinking, well, what the hell am I staying here for? I might as well go with him. And he's like, let's move to Arizona and we can start a new life. And, she's the problem, talking about his ex-wife, blaming it on her, basically, knowing full well it's his dumbass. So I'm thinking, because I was so jealous, and I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. It is her fault. So, we're complicit in our hell. And so I said, yeah, let's go. So he convinced me to get my money out of, to convince my mom to refinance the mortgage so I could get my money back from the house, and we can use that to build our own house in Arizona. And that sounded really good because that's all I've ever wanted, is a family with the mom, the dad, the kids, where nobody gets beat, nobody gets molested. And I'm like, yes, let's go. And there's no snow in Arizona. Yes, let's go. So we go. I have my baby, and here we go with a newborn and now my daughter's about to be 2. So like 1.5-year-old and newborn, and we're in Arizona with the Pet Cemetery husband. And we live in a really nice townhouse, very beautiful part of town in the foothills of Tucson, gorgeous, but I'm super lonely. He completely ignores me. He's always gone. I don't know what he's doing. He goes to the town near where I live at now to do business. Doesn't tell me what kind of business. Long story short, I find out that he's in the drug business. He's in bed with the cartel. I didn't know that. And his whole family is involved. Grandma, mom, uncles, cousins. It's a family affair. All of them do it. And right under my nose with my money, had no clue. And I'm thinking, of course I'm going to give my husband the charge of the bank account. He's my husband. Well, that was the stupidest thing I've ever done. And I was 19. I didn't know any better. And we lose everything. They get his crew is like under surveillance, so they can't really do anything. We lose everything. They can't make money because they're being watched. And come to find out, his uncle is like on the FBI's most wanted. I didn't know that. And he's over here working with them. And we lose everything. Nothing, like nothing left. No furniture, no cars, like literally on the street, homeless. And here I am with 2 babies and not a friend, no friends, because I don't know anybody. And we're staying at his cousin's house, sleeping on the floor in the living room with my 2 babies. And while the cousin watches porn in the living room in front of my daughters, and thank God they don't know what the hell's going on. And I'm just like so disgusted. And I start praying constantly. And prayer works because they got clipped, they got picked up, and the whole crew went to prison except my Pet Cemetery husband. I don't know how the hell he has 9 lives. And they go to prison. And so I leave while they're going to prison. I didn't even know that they're going to prison, but I guess that was part of the prayer. I don't know. So I'm leaving, and I just walked out, and like I was being guided, psychically guided, and told what to do, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't even know this town. And I'm told where to go. I'm told what to do. I get on food stamps. I get on public assistance. I get an apartment, like everything done within 24 hours. I have my own apartment. I have groceries. I have, a bed for me and my kids. And I have a job, all within 1 week. I start working. This miserable idiot pops out of nowhere, out of obscurity, and begs me to take him back. In my mind, I was very calculating, just like I was with the abortion, of like, look, I can't freaking stand you, but this is a business arrangement, because nobody loves these kids more than you do and me. So in the spirit of them not getting sexually abused by a stranger, because that was like my worst fear, for anybody to hurt them, I said, okay, you're going to take care of them and I'm going to work. So we agreed. He was a stay-at-home dad. I worked. And one night, he surprises me with an 8-ball of Coke. And we're drinking. We're doing tequila shots. The kids are asleep. And we're having a good time. We're laughing. And he says, hey, why don't you take this line of Coke? And I don't do drugs. And I said, no, I don't want to. And he said, take it. And he wouldn't stop. Well, he picked me up by my throat, picked me up. He was huge. He was 6 feet tall, again, bigger than me, holds me up against the wall and says, if you don't take this cocaine, I'm going to kill you right here in front of the kids, and they're going to be orphans. And to me, I thought, oh my God, my kids are going to be orphans. And like, I believed him because he was choking me. So I did the cocaine. He just wanted me high, which it makes no sense. You would have been better off telling me when I'm on tequila than cocaine. He wanted me high so he could confess to me, after 6 years of marriage and 2 daughters, that he's gay. Okay. And I'm like, what planet am I on? Like, am I being punked? Like, how did I not know? What? And that he's been cheating on me while I'm at work. How? Or when I'm asleep, because I work the graveyard shift. And I'm like, I didn't even know what the hell was going on. So I'm working at I'm working at a hospital. I'm going to nursing school. He's gay.
No, is he still living with you then?
Yeah, because he's the babysitter. Okay. And I have no family here. And there's no way in hell I'm going back to Chicago. So right.
Was he telling you the truth, or was he just playing?
No, he was telling me the truth because he wanted us to be close. He didn't want to hold the secret anymore. And so he's telling me in the hopes of, confiding in me, really. And I understand where he was coming from, but I told him, I would have respected you more had you told me before you got me pregnant, before you got, you married me, because then I would have had a choice. And I would be completely fine having an arrangement, but like, or maybe I wouldn't, I don't know, but I'll never know now, because now I was forced.
Yeah,
and my kids didn't have a choice. That's what pissed me off. Not me, because I can divorce him, but them, God. So I'm in this city where I don't know anybody. I'm working at the hospital. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell, because to me, marriage means something. My word means everything to me. If I say it, I'm going to do it. And if I don't do it, I will move mountains to get it done, or, fall on my sword and apologize, make things right, because I don't just say things lightly. So to me, I felt like, wow, is like marriage bullshit? Because I was lied to. I felt really bamboozled. So I'm working at the hospital. I make a friend. Oh my God, I loved her. We had so much fun. It was my first friend that I made in Tucson, and she's found murdered. They find her body in the backseat of her car, naked, wrapped in a blanket. Her murder has never been solved to this day. She just never went home. She never came into work. And I was devastated. And I remember really questioning life, questioning God again. Like, why would you let this happen? That was my only friend. You know, because I felt like sleeping with the enemy all over again, because like there's nowhere I can go, you know, and I felt like so alone. So finally, I'm in nursing school and I really enjoy it. I really like the hospital I'm working at. Well, he doesn't like it and he starts to get jealous. So he's like, nope, you're going to quit that job. We're moving and to a tiny border town where it's near where I live now.
Oh my God. I'm just like, you know, trying not to get a charge. But the only thing I can say at this point, I just have to say this. Who the fuck was he? Who the fuck? I mean, you know, I'm sorry. I haven't slept. I haven't slept in 2 days and I'm just,
yeah,
you know, it's just.
Yeah. Well, to me, I was so devastated, but I felt like I don't know anybody here. I really didn't think that I could be by. I don't know why it didn't occur to me. I have my own apartment, you know. No, it didn't occur to me.
Yeah, I get the whole thing. I mean, I totally get your age. I mean, I don't even know how you. I mean, obviously, you were protected, or said it's humanly impossible to survive. Yeah. The three things that you did. The fall and the two. Yeah. So. Because I don't want to run out of time. I have another show in 43 minutes, but there's plenty of time, and I don't mind going up to about 5 minutes before it. But I know. Well, let me just, because I don't want to like you to leave any. I want you to say whatever you want. But
no, yeah, we can do a part 2 because there's.
Well, I want to ask you this, because really, like your story. I mean, I've heard some stories, and I've heard some like this. And they're important. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's the hero's journey, and that's what's really piqued my interest through your story, because of the severity of it and the level of responsibility you took on such a young age. Most people that do that don't do too well. You know, I mean,
I don't know how I'm alive or not an addict, honestly, because I don't drink. I don't do drugs, but I think that was part of the guidance that I had. The protection, because my protection wouldn't let me. It was an internal knowing of like no alcohol ever, no drugs ever.
Were you on the south side of Chicago?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And so from this point so far in the story, and you do whatever you want, up until, I mean, you're still very young. I mean, so like. Up until, I don't know, was there a point where you said, I got to do something to transform this? You know, I've got to do something. I mean, you were already taking responsibility.
Well, I was already transforming things, because every time I would die and come back, everything would change.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like, I don't know. I mean, God, with you, there's like several points, but I mean, how did you get to where you're at? I mean, did you
utilize sanity? Sanity.
Well, look, I mean, you know, at the beginning of the show, you mentioned about being around, having to go and tell your story in front of these white people, and the thing about the white people. Now, I'm from South Texas. My family's Mexican American, big family. One of the reasons I was very moved in the beginning of your story is because I know the patterns that run in that culture. Mm-hmm. The alcohol,
right?
You know, not saying all of them, but I'm just saying that there's always seems to be a link between the alcohol and the incest.
Yeah, and the subservience of women.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to say is that this whole idea of, and so the reason I'm saying this right now is there's probably a lot of people in the audience that didn't make that connection. Because you're talking about
It's a cultural thing, and it's
Yeah.
ingrained in you from very young, because
That's right.
as a child, I had to help my mom serve my dad. So in the
Yeah.
Mexican
Yeah.
community, the husband is the king.
Yeah,
He is the
that's right.
king of the home. My dad was the breadwinner. So whatever daddy wants, daddy gets. Everything was expected to be spotless, perfect. You had to be spotless. You had to be perfect.
It's pretty.
Grace perfect.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Everything perfect.
Yeah. And then the thing too, like even like with the youngest kid, you know, like there's a cultural norm that the youngest kid doesn't leave, or typically it's the youngest daughter doesn't leave one of the parents alone, has to stay with the parent until the parent transitions, right? But anyway, get back to your story. I guess just keep on going and we'll just see what happens. We still got about 20-25 minutes.
Okay, I wonder if I can cram it in.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
So we move. He makes me move. He makes me quit. I love that job, but it was never the same once
can I ask
died.
you this?
Yeah.
And this, I probably already know the answer, but this is the umpteenth time. I mean, you're even then you were doing things that 18-year-olds don't do. Number one, I mean, you were holding a huge load. You're working at a law firm, going to school, you know, but you always acquiesced to the masculine.
Yeah, because I didn't want to get my ass beat. And I knew that line of like, you don't antagonize because it'll be worse if you antagonize. So I wasn't stupid. Like I knew, because every time I died, it was under my terms, at my hand. It wasn't at somebody else's hand. I did it. I pressed the eject button. It wasn't somebody doing it to me. So I knew if I was going to leave, it was going to be because I did it, not because somebody else did it.
Yeah.
And I was at that time, leaving wasn't an option because I wasn't about to leave my babies. So, you know, because I didn't trust anybody. And I'm thinking, this is a business arrangement. There's no love here on my part. He was obsessed with me, but I was like, absolutely not, because now you're telling me something. So I don't know how he was obsessed with me. If he was claiming to be gay, I don't understand that.
I think he's full of shit. To be honest,
I don't know.
With you. No,
I think he just wanted to do whatever the hell he wanted to do under the influence of drugs, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I came in a generation, I'm 59. So I came in a generation when things started to change. But prior to my generation, there were no divorces, period.
Right.
None. And a lot of the men had girlfriends. My grandmother, I mean, you know, she had 7 kids, and it's the same thing you're talking about. Now, I don't know how deep it went because like a lot of other ethnicities, it's not talked about. Right. So you don't really know, but it was the same thing, you know. The man went to work, come home, put a cot in the den after he eats, and he lays in the den, you know, drunk and passes out, and then gets up, sticks his finger down the throat, throws up like the Romans, and gets up and goes to work and does
well, my dad was a highly functioning alcoholic. He had those tiny little airline bottles of alcohol everywhere, hidden in the car, hidden in his clothes, at work, everywhere, because he had to constantly have alcohol in his system, because he would die. He would die if he didn't maintain a certain saturation level.
Wow.
And so, and it was like heavy duty withdrawals if it dropped below a certain level of saturation.
That's a serious. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Well, so because I don't know, because I know we have a lot of shows backed up. I don't know how many, but there's just a lot, and there's a lot of people. But I don't want to take anything away from what happens from here, but I'm hoping that we can get to however you got here. I mean,
it feels like part 1 and part 2, because this is still part 1. We're still in part 1.
Yeah.
The second life is a different animal. And that's where the spirituality comes in.
Now, the second life starts when?
With the second husband.
Which is how long ago?
Well, it's after the Pet Cemetery husband. So
Yeah.
after we move,
So you moved,
um,
okay.
so we moved to the small town.
Okay.
And at this time, I didn't know, again, with my psychic abilities, I didn't know that I could manifest. I would just look at something, wonder about it, and then I would get it. And I didn't know that I was doing it on purpose. And I remember being in, before we left Chicago, being in Chicago, seeing a cop doing traffic control and wondering, what would it be like to be a cop, to work in law enforcement? What would it be like to be married to a cop, to date a cop, to be with a cop? So I remember thinking that, and then that's it. I just let it go. Well, that manifested in my life because we moved to the tiny town. I was in a loveless marriage. He basically, because he knew I didn't want to be with him, I was constantly wanting a divorce. He didn't want me to leave him. Our
Yeah.
kids were older now, so he proposed, let's have an open marriage. You can do whatever you want as long as you come home to me. I thought, well, what kind of a marriage is that? That's not marriage. And so, I mean, I didn't have any experience, that kind of experience. So to me, I thought, well, you're my husband. Like, that's weird. And I was very about rules. Rules are very important to me, and like right and wrong and integrity and things like that. And so I didn't really do anything because, like, the guys that I worked with, I mean, that's a big part of law enforcement, cheating on your wife. That's like a hobby. And it's like you're constantly seeking that adrenaline rush. So, like, once you're not getting it from the calls anymore, you seek other places where there's chaos. You're constantly seeking chaos because you get a rush from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working in law enforcement, and I'm a 911 dispatcher. And funny, just like the rest of my life, the training, because I'm thinking, well, they're not going to hire me. I don't know anything about that stuff. And, I was pre-law. Then I was in nursing school for a little bit, but like, I didn't study this and I don't know anything about that. Well, they hired me in their training process because it's a tiny town and like the turnover is so high. They can't find anybody to pass the drug test because we're on the border and it's drug city. So they hired me on the spot. I had a degree and stuff, so they were very excited by me. I was very excited to be there, and I loved it. I was helping people, but the training is sink or swim. Here you go. Here's a suicide. Let's see how you do, and like throw you in the deep end of the ocean. And if you make it, okay, you pass. But if you don't, oh, you might kill somebody and you're fired. So what? But that was the training. So I passed the training. I find out I'm really good at it. I'm getting all these suicides and like domestic violence. Are you kidding me? That's my jam because that's what I grew up with. I know suicide. I know domestic violence. So like I can put myself in the position of the caller and I can empathize with them in a way that not a lot of people can because they don't know what the mindset of someone who's going down that road feels like as a woman, as a victim, as whatever, and I'm able to talk to them. Plus I can read their thoughts. I know what they need to hear and I can anticipate their needs that they don't even know that they need. And so I was really good at that job because I knew what the officers needed. I knew how to do their job. I knew how to do my job. And I was just really good at taking on a lot. And so I was in that life. I really loved it. And I met, this is the second, I don't know if there was interference with this or not, but I was working graveyard one night. It's morning. I'm waiting for my relief to come in. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. And it was a county facility. So I was in charge of the doors. I had to open all the doors. I had to man all the cameras to the entire facility. People would buzz. I had to, validate their credentials and let them in or not. So like a lot of power at my hands. And in addition to the other duties as being on the radio with the officers and 911 calls and all that. And I see this guy come in wearing regular clothes. He's not wearing a uniform. So I'm like, who's that? And instantly I recognized him. I had soul recognition. I thought, there you are. It's you. You're here finally. and I felt like my ride was here or something. It felt very like soul recognition, like, oh, I can exhale. And I madly in love. I thought, this is it. And it motivated me to get out of that bullshit marriage. I left the Pet Cemetery husband. He was not happy. He fought me tooth and nail. Finally, he acquiesced. I got the divorce. Move in with this. Well, first, he was really young. So he's 6 years younger than me. And mama's boy. Had never been with a serious relationship. And I'm thinking, you know what? It's okay. Like, you don't need to change anything. I realize, you're really young. I've had so much responsibility. So I felt like 100 years old, even though I was in my 20s. And I quit where I was working and I moved to Chicago. So I moved back to Chicago at my mom's house with my daughters. And he finally, he decides, no, I don't want you to be away from me. And he proposes marriage. We get engaged. He flies me back to Arizona. We get married. We move in. No, we don't get married. We move in together. We decide to have a baby. And like, I'm happy with just living together and having a baby, but I don't want marriage anymore, because to me, marriage was like not fun. -9 Yelp review, no thanks. And so to me, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. And he, the culture, also Mexican, he insists, well, we can't have a baby and not be married, because my parents are not going to be okay with that.
Jesus
and
Christ.
So I'm thinking, I don't want to get married. Let's just be happy. Let's just have a baby. Well, he doesn't want that. So I give in, even though I didn't want to, but everything happens for a reason. And we get married. We have our baby. We have another baby. Where we work at the same agency for a little while. Then I leave that agency and I go back to the county agency that I had started at in the beginning. So like throughout this entire span, we were married for 18 years. We were together for 18 years. And I worked at different law enforcement agencies doing 911. And he's a cop. He was a cop at the time. And I was now at the county facility, and I was there. So altogether about 20 years, give or take. And one day, I was really good at my job. And I know that sounds very egoic and bragging, but I won an award. People would they would fight to work with me because they knew Sylvia is on top of it. And I could see their needs before they knew what they needed. I knew what they needed. So of course I was on top of it. And that was such an asset in that life or death situation, because you don't have time. Time is everything. And I already knew, yep, I already got the tow truck. Yep, I already got that. Yep, I already called this. Yep, I already called, the dive team, whatever's needed, done. And I enjoyed it because I was helping people. So I really shined in that position. But I did see a lot of corruption. I saw a lot of things that, the public didn't know about. And I felt like I wasn't okay with that. There was a lot of control, this is, again, probably the culture also, being a border community. And
law enforcement too, though. Law enforcement,
right? All of it. It's like
so
the good old boys club.
So you go back now. Do you take the twins and not the twins?
No, at the time it was my daughters.
That's right. So you take those two and you go back, have two more.
Right. No. Okay. So now I'm not in Chicago. I'm still.
No, I know. You're in back in Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I have 4. So I'm working at this agency. And married to a cop with different agency. He works at a different agency. And one day, very celebrated at this in this field. And because a lot of cops almost died on duty, and I helped them. So like, you could literally kill someone or you could save a life because of your actions. So like, I took it very seriously, especially because my husband was a cop. I was like, oh my God, I hope somebody's doing this for him. So I was on top of it. Like, I know I'm going home. I need to make sure my guys go home, you know, the squad. So we were very much like a family because everybody's trauma bonded. So from so much death and so much, you know, chaos, you become trauma bonded. And I mean, I knew their wives, I knew their kids, you know, and they knew my husband because he worked with them. So it was very like all one world. And like, you can't really talk about the job with regular people because they don't get it. And like, I was fortunate enough to be able to discuss things with my husband that other people couldn't, and vice versa, him with me, because I get it. You know, it's that life. And so we would work opposite shifts. He'd be home with the kids, or I'd be at work, and we'd just switch off. So around this time, paranormal things start happening to me. And I didn't know, again, that that I was seeing these things. I didn't know what they were. So the first thing that started was 2 orbs started following me when I would start putting on the uniform. As soon as I put on the uniform, boom, they were there. It was a white one and a blue one. Then I remember asking my kids, my husband, can you see that? No, only me. They jump in the car with me. They're at work with me. I ask people at work, can you see that? No, they think I'm crazy. These 2 orbs are just sitting here next to me, and a blue one and a white one. Then I start getting psychic information, directly telepathic information. They're talking to me through numbers. Look up this number. Look up this number. But then they would tell me which website. They're like, not all of them. Some of them are hijacked. Only this one. And so they would tell me, they're like, we're going to talk to you like this. And this happened for a year. Okay. Weird, but okay. Then at home, only when I'm alone, the kids are at school, my husband's at work, I start through my third eye. I didn't know I could do this. Some kind of like trigger goes off of like, hey, intruder, intruder. And when I'm dead asleep, I can tell if a being comes into my room. And like instantly I wake up, and I didn't know I could do that. And I'm like, my eyes aren't even open. I could see it just through here. And I see these beings. There's about 3 of them. They're wearing these black, shiny, like, you know, the outfit that Iron Man wears, complete with the face mask and everything like that. And they were big guys, big, tall guys. And they were wearing that, and like that thing in the middle. It was something in the center, like Iron Man. And I didn't know what it was. So at first they would walk in through the walls. They would just stand at the door to my bedroom. And I have a big bedroom. So I would be in bed directly across from the room, and I would just see them, and they would just stand there. So for weeks, all they did was stand there. They wouldn't say a word. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, maybe they're ETs. Maybe they're angels. Maybe they're my spirit guides. I didn't know what the hell they were. But to me, I thought, I guess they're good because I'm not afraid. So I thought, oh, okay, well, they're not doing anything. They're just standing there. This went on for weeks. Then they started getting closer to me. Then more appeared. About 12 came. And I remember thinking, why are they standing at the foot of my bed now? They're close, and there's 12 of them. And I got really scared, and I started saying, you need to leave now. And they freaked out because they didn't know that I could see them. Before, they didn't know that I could see them. And I remember in like some kind of like, you know how the Secret Service wears the lapel mic and they talk into the lapel mic? They were kind of like communicating, but it was telepathic to a superior that was not in my room. And they were saying, what do we do? She can see us. What do we do? And then I could hear them. They didn't know that I could hear them. They freaked out, and they're like, help, what do we do? And I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing in my room? And I didn't know what it was. And I guess their superiors tell them to just stay there and just observe me. And I couldn't hear the superior. I could only hear the guys that were in my room. And so they just stayed there. That went on for weeks at the foot of my bed. Then they started coming around my bed and touching me when I was asleep. Now, from my experience, it felt like, those pranks when you're asleep and somebody tickles you with a feather, or like, plays pranks on you, and it's just like touching, you just assume. So to me, I assume maybe they're aliens and they're curious about me because they don't know what I am, because I'm not afraid of them. So trying to come up with what the hell is this? And they weren't listening to me when I said leave. So I don't know what it is. But who the hell am I going to tell?
Yeah, they weren't listening to you. What year was this? Late 80s, early 90s?
No, 2014, 2014.
2014. Yeah, that's so keep going. We got about another 5-6 minutes.
Okay. So we're probably gonna have to do a part 2. So they're coming into my room, and long story short, they get violent with me. They start paralyzing my body, and they only come into my room and mess with me when nobody's home. But if I have one of the kids with me in bed, they won't mess with me. And I don't know why. I think it's because kids have protection.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that. I didn't know why me and not them. I didn't know why when my husband was home, not them, but only me by myself. They only wanted me.
Let's do some questions, questions, and maybe try to connect some of this now. So these beings were not cool.
No, but I didn't know.
I'm just saying, like, I mean,
yeah, because they were violating my sovereignty. Yeah.
Now, so, okay, first of all, what was the conclusion with these beings? Did you ever get any information or anything?
The conclusion was that the worst day that it got really violent and they paralyzed me, I couldn't wake up. All I could do was cry. There was nobody home anyway, but even still, I was paralyzed. I couldn't yell for help. And all I could think to do was pray. So I started praying in my mind. I had never had any experience with Christ before, because to me, I thought it was blasphemous to worship anything other than God. So I had no connection to my knowledge of Christ, but something in me knew to call God, Christ, and Archangel Michael. Please help me. As soon as I said those words, everything stopped. A year's worth of torture disappeared. They left me alone because they were drilling in my brain. I could feel the entire bed shaking. It sounded like when you break up a sidewalk. That's what they were doing to my head.
Jesus Christ.
And I think they were trying to prevent my awakening, because after that, I had my awakening. They were trying to stop it.
So in regard to that, do you think, because I mean, anyway, do you feel that those aspects were connected to you, or
no.
Okay, or
they're malevolent?
Well, okay. I mean, I'm kind of coming from the school of thought that anything that comes into my field is matching my energy. Or giving me something I need or ask for from up here. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking, but I was screaming, begging for them to stop. They were straddling me, sitting on top of me, holding me down, forcing me, and drilling my brain. So I knew this is not good. They were trying to stop me. And later I find out what it was, but like in the moment, it was an attack. And why would it stop if I asked God for help? Well, instantly.
But, yeah, and that runs through your story, though. I mean, that runs through your story when you've mentioned it a couple times, and then now in terms of so they end up leaving, and sometime after that you have an awakening. Was it a mild awakening? Was it another trauma?
More trauma. This is part 2. This is life 2. Yeah. So we can do that some other time, and I can share my part 2.
So you're in Southern Arizona, Chicago girl. Yeah, I like Chicago a lot. It's my second favorite city in the country. Beautiful. You're a beautiful lady. You're brave. You're smart. You're just You're just an inspiration. And I just want to say on behalf of everybody, because you didn't have to do this. I mean, thank you for sharing all these
I felt compelled. My guidance dragged me kicking and screaming to message Morgan. I did not want to, and they said it's time.
Well, you're the third one that has said that on this show since you put that post up.
Yeah, so thank you, Morgan.
In fact, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Morgan. Yeah. God, I'm so punchy. I got one more to go. I'm on an hour and a half sleep. But God, what were you saying?
You're probably gonna have dreams about this now.
No, I find all this very fascinating, and especially relative to what's going on now, which is
I got lots of information about now. So yeah.
So I mean
we'll have to continue.
Yeah, that's yeah. So everybody is very thankful and grateful. You can tell by the comments.
Thanks, guys.
And that's just the lives. I mean, there'll be a lot of replay on this, I'm sure. But listen, thank you so much. Thank you for coming in, sharing space with us, and honoring us with your presence and being so open. And stand tall, keep going. All blessings to you and your family.
That. And if I can come back to share part 2, I would love to. Just let me know when.
That sounds right. Okay. You take care. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.